it seemed endless. It was, all the way around the neckline, and then all the way around the arms or the armholes. My goodness, I felt like I was doing double knitting forever. Hi there, and welcome back. My name is Lisa, and this is LiseLight, the channel where I usually talk about knitting, but also all other kinds of creative endeavors that I throw myself into. Today, I wanted to do a little video that may inspire you. If you're a very experienced knitter, you'll just nod and go, "Oh yeah, of course." But who knows? Maybe there's something that you will find interesting that you haven't thought of. There are some of the techniques I'm going to share with you that are fairly new to me. Some of them I've used for a while. So, and also a couple that I was intimidated by, but then found out that it's really not that hard. So before we go ahead, please subscribe if you're not already. It really helps my channel out, and it helps other knitters to find this little happy end of the knitting community. I try to keep it light and positive here, and I hope that you enjoy that too. So with that being said, let's jump into it. I'm going to look a little bit to the side once in a while just to make sure that I remember all the different things. So the first thing is a stretchy cast-on method, and I know there are a ton of them. But it's a method that I just recently picked up specifically for when I knit socks. I mean, usually what I've done so far is just do the traditional long tail cast on. It works, but it does create this cast on that's just a little tight sometimes. It's fine because it sort of works, but I was a little bit unhappy with it. I know there are all these the Italian cast on, but I find a lot of them really fiddly. I know it's all a matter of habit and how you do it and whatnot, but I just think sometimes it gets to be a little too complex. And then I found, I'll pop up the Instagram profile so you can see it. He might also have a YouTube channel. I haven't actually investigated further, but it's a channel called, or an Instagram profile called Cleavely. And he had a cast on method. I believe he calls it the German cast on method. And I learned it from a little tutorial on Instagram. I will pop in a little video showing how to do it because it might help you. The thing is, it's very similar to a long tail cast on. You start the same way. You measure out your yarn so that you have enough of an end of both of them. And then you do a slip knot, and then you just twist your needles around a little bit different than what you do on a regular long tail cast on. And what it does is you end up with this very stretchy cast on. I don't know if you can see it in this sock yarn, but it's also almost has a little bit of an effect, I feel like. I think it looks very pretty. It's got these little like loops on top of the sock. This is a sock where I did twisted rib, and it's not blocked or anything, so it's just raw. It hasn't even, I didn't weave in the ends yet. This is the one sock I've done. But it just works, and it works with the twisted rib I've done here. I'm pretty sure it'll look just as good. I haven't tried with 2x2 rib. This is the first time I've done it, but every time I've tried on this sock, I mean, it's crazy stretchy, but without, I think some of the stretchy cast-ons I feel like are so stretchy that it feels like they bend out of shape, sort of. And this was just genius. And as with so many other things, when you just try it the first time, it seems a little fiddly. But once you get a hang of it, it's very easy, easier than a lot of other methods I've tried. But let's just take a look at a little video and you can see what I'm talking about. So what you do is basically you start out as if you do a long tail cast on, and you go under the loop, through it, and pick up and go through. I'll show you again. You sort of twist around instead of just doing the regular cast on. So I'll try to go slower here. So you can see you sort of, you loop it around. So you go under the yarn on your right hand all the way through up and pick up the other yarn and pull it through. And, before you know it, it turns into something you can do fairly fast. It didn't take me longer to do my cast on than what I usually do. So that's the first method that's changed my sock game, at least. I think I'm going to use this method every time I do socks from now on because, again, it wasn't difficult to do. There wasn't any of all this, do one more stitch than you need, and then you need to, like, this whole thing you need to go through. There was none of that. It was very, very easy to do. So if you haven't tried it, I would highly recommend it. And I'll link his Instagram video. If mine isn't clear, you can go take a look at his. But I just try to pop in how to do it if that makes it easier for you. I realize how difficult it actually is. I have mad respect for people filming tutorials on social media because it's not that easy to film it clearly and position your hand so people can actually see what you're doing. So that was another learning for me. But hopefully that could help you too, so you don't get this like little bit of an awkward. Like I almost feel like some of my socks that they might actually, well, they're not going to break, but it almost feels like I'm stretching them too much when I put them on because it's sort of not forgiving at the top edge. So hopefully that will be helpful to you. The next one I'm going to talk about is double knitting. And of course, I'm not going to demonstrate for you how to do it because I think you all know the drill. Let's just see. But this whole notion of doing like the double knitting for button bands and whatever you want to use it for, I think is so pretty, and it just makes everything look so professional and finished in a way that I don't think I usually obtain with a ribbed button band, for example. Not that I don't like that. I think it looks great, but it just creates this different type of thing. And I think for a long time, I was a little bit intimidated. First of all, because I just it didn't compute in my brain how you do it. Like it just seems so, I don't know what it is, but it seemed weird to me how how does this whole thing work? And once you start doing it and you find a good tutorial of how to, it's not that hard. One of my favorite tutorials that makes you understand how it works is Florence Miller. As always, she has brilliant tutorials. I'll try to link it below if you want to go take a look at that. It's kind of like you need to understand the basics of it, and then you can pick up whatever your pattern tells you to do. That's at least how I saw it. I think my introduction to double knitting was actually not that. It was actually, I did a headband that I love dearly. It's with yarn that I'm still struggling with what to do with the rest of that yarn, because I bought yarn. I talked about it in like earlier podcast episodes. I bought mohair type yarn in a red that I had this vision of making a sweater in. And then when I got it, the red is sort of a coldish red with it has a little bit of black in it. And I was just not loving that color on me in big chunks. But what I wanted to do though was to do a headband for when I'm on my bike. I hate wearing hats because I often wear my hair up when I'm on my bike, and I find it so annoying to try to fiddle around with a hat at the same time. So I usually end up with something else for the bike, and this this notion of creating, it's a double, I'll put in a photo of it and you can find it. There's always a link to my Ravelry projects in my notes down below. So you can definitely go over and find it there. But it was a headband. I think it's a free pattern where you do double knitting all the way. And then when you sew it together, you twist it somehow. I think you put it on, you sort of fold it in on each other, and so it's stuck, and then you flip it out, and it gets to have this cute little knot on the front. It's very cute. It's so easy. Of course, it takes a little longer to do double knitting, but I think it made me get the hang of it. And just realized this is not so hard. It's actually not at all bad. So I just went back and forth with the double knitting, and the double knitting is brilliant when you want to use it for something that needs to keep you warm, because it's a little tighter in the way it's knitted. So that was my introduction to double knitting. And then I've done a couple of cardigans with lately the champagne cardigan for my friend. And then this is the Amesbury cardigan where I used it, where it has it's a round neck, so it's got ribbing on top of. Then it has the band that actually you do the front double knitting first, and then you do the ribbing in the collar in the end, and you put the buttons on. I just think it looks so nice and so professional. Like, it's one of the knitting features that make people go, oh my God, did you make this? Because it looks store-bought when you do it. So I think it looks very, very nice. I've also used the double knitting as edges on my square neck cami. I'll pop in a photo of it. I will say, though, when I was doing that, I was complaining a little bit when I presented my final top. I love the top. It was a whole thing because I don't love the yarn still. It's Drops Cotton Merino, and it's very how do you call it? It easily like it catches on things, so you end up with this little, like, this annoying thing where it's like it pulls out a little thread here and there very easily. I really don't like that. But I had this yarn. It was in a pale pink that did not suit me, so I colored it. I went through the whole thing in an earlier podcast episode, so you can go back and find it if you want to. But it's I dyed the final top with avocado peels, which was such a fun process, and it turned out beautiful. It's one of my favorite tops. I just wish the yarn was better. So at least now I know that I could do it in a different yarn. It fits me wonderfully. I think it's such a great top. But I mean, the amount of double knitting, which was done, I want to say, was it 2.5 millimeter needles, maybe? I think the top was 3 millimeter, and probably the double knitting I went down. It seemed endless. It was, all the way around the neckline, and then all the way around the arms or the armholes. My goodness, I felt like I was doing double knitting forever. The champagne cardigan was a little bit brutal too, because you go all the way up and around and down because it's got a V-neck. But yeah, I definitely got the hang of double knitting, but I love the way it looks. I think it looks so polished, so nice. So if you haven't tried it, don't be intimidated. It's not that hard. You just got to understand the basics of it, and then it's actually pretty easy to do. It just takes longer. It does take a while. So yeah, so that's number 2. The third one is fairly recent. I talked about it in a video not too long ago, but I just want to, I feel like I want to go over it again because I think this is pretty brilliant. This is the sandwich method that you can use to cover up an ugly edge, sort of. You can use it, you don't need to cover anything up, but what it does is, the principle is you have an edge, and then you pick up stitches on either side of the edge, and then you knit separately for a little bit on each side, and then you connect it, and then you do your finish in the end. And what you end up with, I did this was a whole ordeal that I also shared in another podcast episode with creative stuff in it. I'll link it in the card in the video if you want to see it. This was a sweater that I cut up and turned into a cardigan, which was fairly scary because I had to cut through the lace parts of it in order for it to be a cardigan. And then I was left with this pretty ugly fraying. I mean, I did the zigzag on my sewing machine first, so it didn't unravel, but it did not look great. And I was like, there's no way if I cover it up with a piece of ribbon or something, it's going to be very chunky and it's going to be visible from the other side because it's so airy. That's not going to work. So a very talented Danish designer, Pernille Cordes, has this method that she teaches in a course that I have from her. It's a paid course, but it's worth it. It's Danish, so there's that. Well, what it does is look at how I'll just try to show you in detail. So this is my and also my pretty buttons here. You can see what it does is this first little edge has just it's just in stockinette. And then that goes all the way up to here. And then there's ribbing. And then on the back side, you have this nice edge. Look at that. So instead of having this raw edge, it's hidden in between the two layers. And again, I don't see many constructions using this method, but I think I'm definitely going to freestyle it and use it for myself. I have the Juno tee. I'm not very much further than from the last time I showed this to you guys. This is a t-shirt that I've done in a brown version. It's by Sari Nordlund. It's just a beautiful t-shirt top. It's difficult to see on these. It's not that big of a needle I have to show for you. It's got lace on the arm, on the arms, and then it's just stockinette. So fairly basic, but just a beautiful t-shirt. And the other one I just did, I picked up and I did just the regular ribbing for the neckline. I kind of want to do this for this the double knitting for this neckline. I think that could look so polished and put together because it is a little. The neckline is fairly big before you do the ribbing, which is fine. But I think this could look. It could just turn it into something a little more polished than just doing a regular ribbing. So I think that could definitely be fun to do. And I think I will try to implement it more in other pieces because you basically would pick up the same amount of stitches as the pattern tells you to. You're just doing the method of doing the sandwich method. So I think that could definitely work. So yeah, that's a method that I feel is so useful also because it actually opens up the opportunity for you to I don't know, take a sweater that you don't love like I did here and turn it into a cardigan. Maybe you buy a cardigan or a sweater in a thrift store that's not working as a sweater but would look great as a cardigan. You could do new ribbing on the sleeves in the front sandwich method thing, or I mean, there's so many options suddenly when you have this method that just turns an ugly edge into a beautiful piece of knitwear. So I think that's definitely a method that has changed my perspective on the possibilities of what I could do with different things. I'm eyeing a couple of sweaters and I'm thinking of either, well, maybe I will do something to them. I don't know yet, but this was definitely fun to try out. And again, I can't recommend trying it out the first time with yarn in this color because my goodness, I could not see what I was doing. I could not distinguish one stitch from the other. It would have been very much easier, so much easier if I had chosen to try this out on a lighter garment. But there's that. I mean, I love this cardigan now, use it all the time. So it was definitely worth the effort. And it didn't take that long when it came down to it. I was just scared to do it, intimidated, I would say, especially the cutting. across the lace was a little scary, but it worked out so great. So I'm happy that I did it. So, okay, well, let's stay with actually this one. Sorry. Because the next method that I really love is a tubular bind off. It took me a while to figure out that people like interject, and I think also it's so confusing that people call it different things. There's the Italian bind off, the sewn bind off, and then there's the tubular bind off. And at least my understanding of it is the tubular bind off, it's a combination of the Italian bind off where you sew your end stitches, but before that you do a couple of setup rows. And I've seen some people do 4 setup rows, which I usually don't do, but I do 2. And the end result is I don't know if you can see it, this is maybe not even the best example, but on the edge of this, it makes the stitches sort of fold over somehow, so it looks seamless. And I didn't quite get it in the beginning, but I really like it, especially if I think if the yarn if it's a very thin yarn, like like a fingering weight yarn, I don't think the effect is very impressive. It doesn't really do the same thing, I feel like, but when there's a little bit of chunkiness and thickness to the yarn, I think it looks so great. I can't show you, but on the champagne cardigan I did it, and oh my goodness, it looks scrumptious. It just looks so nice. I mean, you want to sort of touch it all the time because it's so nice with the rounded edge and the mohair and the double Sunday. It was just beautiful. I don't think I have close-up pictures of it, but I mean, it's one of those little things where you, as one who knitted it, you can just go crazy about how nice that is. I don't know if my friend appreciates that little detail as much as I do, but that doesn't matter because I know I did it and it looks great. So the tubular bind off, it takes a couple of more steps, but I think it's worth it in a lot of instances. But again, if it's fingering weight yarn, I don't think I will bother doing it. I'll just do the Italian bind off where you just sew it without the 2 setup rows. But I think it makes a difference in a lot of pieces. So I don't know, what's your and also if you feel like I got it wrong, please let me know. But I feel like a lot of people call it like one or the other. Even there is a difference, kind of. At least that's how I understood it. But correct me if I'm wrong. But that's how, at least in my head, that's how I distinguish Italian bind off. You just sew it. Tubular bind off, you do a couple or at least 2 setup rows before you do the sewn bind off. But I love that method because I think it's stretchy, it's nice, it looks good. And I know some people hate it. I find it therapeutic somehow. I don't think it's bad at all. The only thing is, if you have a long round to go, your yarn is crazy long to begin with, and that's a little fiddly. But hey, I mean, nobody says it has to be quick when you knit. It's not a quick interest anyway. So for me, it's fine. I like it. So that's number 4. And then number 5, it's more of, let's see, I have it here. I need to get my stuff. It's actually the use of stitch markers when you do lace. I did not do this when I started knitting lace pieces, and boy, was I struggling. The whole point is, when you have a repeat of a lace pattern, you usually have, some start and finish of a whatever row around you're doing, and then you usually have, not always, but you often have a lot of repeats, like the same pattern repeated again and again. And sometimes it's obvious and you may not need it, but I just realized how much easier your life gets if you put stitch markers in at certain places to just keep it separate. It just makes it so much easier. And a good example is, I'm almost done. I can almost not show it on screen. I'm doing a poncho by Einrum, Icelandic Danish knitwear designer. well, she's not Danish, but she lives in Denmark. It's a beautiful piece. It's like this whole long rectangle you knit, and then you fold it and put buttons, which will so it'll turn into this poncho thing. I'll put a picture up of this beautiful piece and lovely yarn. It's 89% merino and 11% silk from her company as well. It's so nice to work with. I was kind of hoping I had enough left over so I could do something for myself, but I don't think I will. I'll have to find something else. But anyways, what it is you have pearl. Is it called pearl knitting? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, this type of edge. And then you have the repeats, which are 10 stitches in each pattern repeat all the way across. And then you actually have 24 rows of it before you start over again. So there's quite a lot to keep track of. And it's not difficult, not at all. And the more, I mean, now I can't do it without looking at the pattern, but I only need to sort of glance at the pattern to figure out where I'm at. But what I've done is basically place stitch markers every 10 stitches all the way across. And to begin with, I was like, oh man, that's a lot of stitch markers. Is it going to be annoying to move them around? Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, I can count in my head because I know immediately if I messed up, because I need 10 stitches at all times between, like at each little pattern repeat, because there's a lot of yarn over and two together to the right and to the left and whatnot. This is what creates this beautiful pattern. And I mean, without it, I would constantly have to second guess. Is this where I'm starting the new one? What did I end up? I think I would lose my place. And in this instance, it's so easy. And yes, it is moving stitches back and forth, but I mean, I've done this whole thing, and I can't tell you if I made a mistake or not, but I mean, I made very, very few mistakes because I was able to catch it very quickly, because I could easily figure out where it was and what was happening. So this is probably the biggest game changer for me doing lace work. That has just made it so much easier, because now it's not a guessing game. I know exactly what's happening and where I'm at. So that is just a very easy, just very, very easy way of doing it. I think my favorite stitch markers, they went from being the sort of chunky, let's see if we have an example. Oh, it's stuck to something else, but this type, little chunky plastic one. But I think well, you wouldn't be able to see it in this piece, but I think I tend to actually, I noticed if the yarn is thicker and it's more like a stockinette piece, it actually creates a noticeable change because you've got to stretch your yarn over this chunky piece of plastic, whereas these little light bulb ones, or whatever you call them, which are just little metal ones, tiny flimsy ones, they're perfect for it because they're easy to move around. The only thing is when you do yarn overs next to them, they tend to sometimes want to slip under one, but it's pretty easy to spot. But these are just the thing to go with. So yeah, definitely a game changer. And I'm almost done with this, so I'll talk about this in my next podcast episode. So yeah, so those are my 5, I would call game-changing knitting techniques that I've been very, very happy to discover, and I'm also kind of, I guess, proud to be able to master. I mean, maybe they're not difficult, but still, you probably know the feeling that every time you sort of broaden your knitting tool section, your knitting knowledge, it's just satisfying. It's just nice that you're able to do something that looks cool, that works. That's it's just in all manners so nice to be able to just be better at the techniques and just whatever stuff is going on. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you today. Share with me in the comments if you have other techniques that are just game changers for you. Let us know, and let's be better together. That would be amazing. And before I leave you, please subscribe if you're not already. That would just mean the world to me. I love all your comments. I love the fact that you want to follow along in my knitting journey. Thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. And with that being said, I will leave you and just wish you happy knitting and hope to see you soon in my next video. Take care.